Marlins game, the people, even in the fancy schmancy seats behind home plate there, everybody's on their cell phone and nobody's watching the action. Nobody.
Our friend George was asking if how much would they pay you? How much would they have to pay to go to the game? And I laughed. I said, Defo used to go regularly. That
it's a good ballpark from viewing. Yes. The problem is crossing into Dade County. I mean, as soon as you cross into Dade County, the driving tactics are they alter completely. It's like Formula One versus NASCAR from Broward to Dade.
Is it bad that I feel more comfortable there? Like I was there Saturday.
Yeah.
Just driving like a loon. No, and it's accepted.
I spent much time there, trust me.
Like I get into Broward and I have to like control myself. And it's not like Broward's perfect. It's still South Florida, but it's
no. I mean, the drivers are awful. Probably. I mean, you would hear this in every city. Oh, man, nobody drives.
No. Miami's great. Miami, you can do like the stuff you would get honked.
You don't know
at.
if the guy next to you is passed away and is at the wheel. Like literally Weekend at Bernie's.
Like you pull moves anywhere, even in Broward, like you cut someone off the middle finger, and I'm like, dude.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even do anything to you. But if you drive in Miami like a lunatic, no one even notices. Like, no. That's normal.
Very normal, yeah. I mean, the rules are suspended there of any kind of road etiquette. That's for sure.
They don't honk.
Tires are flying out of nowhere, even though they didn't come off any car. People are dropping stones from the bridges. The fuck?
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday edition, Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday edition of the Defo Show. I'm Jeff DeForest. That is one handsome devil of a man over there, the Mr. Mike Lubitz. And much to discuss here on the program today. Good to have you guys with us. As, very quietly under the radar with all of the hoopla, and deservedly so. I thought the Olympics came off extremely well. I'm going to miss watching whatever event happened to be on, whether it was on USA. I don't mind watching some of these schmuck sports. I will say this. I came to this conclusion again, and this is going to offend certain people that are highly critical of the show to begin with. But nonetheless, can anybody really watch, honestly, Lubie, really watch any soccer game in its entirety? I don't care what's at stake. Could be, the highest level of the European League soccer squaring off in the World Cup, and you're thinking, this game sucks. I mean, I'm sorry. The majority of what's going on is just total bullshit. Do you not find that to be true? I mean, I tried my best. I was trying to watch a little bit of this women's soccer game that was in the Olympics, and I'm thinking, shit, if anybody was watching this from the beginning to the end, it would be an atrocity. I mean, just appalling, repulsive. It was a thrill. What were you going to say?
Well, no, my favorite is the soccer fan when it's a 1-0 quote unquote barn burner with 80 at the 80th minute mark.
Yeah.
And they're like, what a game. I'm like, it's 1-0.
What a fucking game. If there was a game, there wouldn't be 1-0 after 80 minutes of this trek. My God. No, really, I mean, I have to say, it was about as boring as anything I've ever seen. And that, I mean, against the context and in the context of all of these other, weenie sports that you never even heard of. You have no idea what the rules are. Even the announcers have no idea what the fuck's going on out there, right? I mean, they just throw some guy, hey, Jimmy Roberts. Yeah, no, you used to be big, but I tell you what, you're doing women's handball. Don't worry about the rules. Nobody knows the rules. Nobody knows what's going on in the game. But even that was fascinating by comparison to some of this soccer stuff. You got to be kidding me. Unbelievable. All right, the basketball was a big thing. And, wow, I still can't imagine that there was ever a threat that the U.S. team would lose. Now, they ultimately won. It was closer than you thought against the fabulous French, who I think, you know what? You always think about this, Lubie. Don't you picture, you've been to France. I have not.
I have.
All right. But the word was, even when I was taking French, like in junior high school, that, the people are assholes. Basically, you don't want to go there. They treat the tourists like shit. They guide them to the top of the Eiffel Tower, take their money, and they want them to get the fuck out of there. Go to Morocco or something. Go have some couscous. That's kind of the, the MO that you thought they were using there with regard to tourism. But you would have wanted to go to France after seeing these Olympic Games. I mean, if they spent billions of dollars to enhance the image of the French in the eyes of the world after this, fiasco over the Last Supper thing, Did they not overcome that in a glorious fashion? I mean, it looked like everybody was having a great fucking time there, didn't
Looked
it?
like a great games. I mean, we didn't hear any of the complaints we heard with the disaster in Qatar with the World Cup or some of the other issues with some of the big, like Japan. It sucked because it was in the middle of COVID. Like it was a real games. There was a lot of action, a lot of energy, and it's pair. So the site and variance. So the sights and sounds are fantastic. So from what I saw, they did a really good job, and it felt like the energy was back for the Olympics for the first time in the last 2 or 3 Olympics.
Yes, the crowds were sensational. They really were, and it appeared that there was a tolerance level, whatever side of the equation you happen to be on. You didn't see a lot of fist fights in the stands. I mean, you didn't see some Serbian trying to knock out some guy from Nigeria because he said something that was considered to be disparaging, even though it was in a language that the guy couldn't begin to comprehend. Get the fuck out of here. No, it was great. I mean, the crowds were great, and the competition was fantastic. You had some great accomplishments. You get turned on to some people that you probably weren't familiar with that have been working their ass off to be world class athletes, and you see the high level. I mean, that there could be so many people at this high level. Lubie was, I think, the thing that was singularly most amazing about the Olympic Games, right? Where you got like 10 guys that are, I mean, this, even the Olympic women's marathon, they're like four, straight across the track with 150 yards to go. Get the fuck out of here. That was great. And the woman who won, how is she from the Netherlands, this woman? I don't mean to, I'm sure it's all legit, right? But did she not look like, I mean, she was right there with the Kenyans and the Ethiopians? No, I mean, what the fuck was that? And that woman, by the way, I heard something this morning as I was, catching a little sports center. She also had a bronze medal in the women's 5 and 10,000 meters.
Jesus.
Which I mean, what are you talking about there? You're talking about how many miles is 10,000 meters? 1,500 meters is a little short of a mile. So you're talking about what, a 5-mile race there, something like that. It seems like it would be longer. Anyway, and then she wins the marathon after running those two things inside of like a 9-day span. Incredible. 26 miles, 385 yards. Unbelievable accomplishment. That was the way to finish it off. So it turned out great. The men's basketball team, I'm looking at, they're 2-4 against the spread, according to my calculations, Lubie, which teaches you a lesson, right? Never bet with your heart. And I mean, it leads right into another one of our tenets of degeneracy. What would it be? The 3 commandments? Never bet with your heart, never lay points, and don't check your gut at the door. Have your own instincts. Follow them once in a while. Even if you've been dead wrong your entire life, this might be the time that you're right.
Honestly.
Could be. But, I mean, betting against the U.S. team, you have to have the heart of a Russian assassin, no? To bet against the hometown club with all of these all-stars on it, where Jason Tatum is not even going to take the uniform, the sweatsuit off. Where would you figure that?
I don't know. That it was funny. I look at the game he plays is very similar to a lot of the other guys on the team, so I get it. And he's behind a LeBron and a KD, a guy that needs to have the ball in his hands and is purely a scorer. Again, he's like was 3rd or 4th on the roster at that place, but you thought he would play more. I mean, the last like 3 or 4 games, I don't think he played at all. It was like the professor's dream.
He didn't play in 2 of the 6 games that the U.S. contested. Jason Tatum, a guy who you would have to say, I mean, even though Jaylen Brown was the MVP of the finals, and I don't know, you could say they're 1 and 1A, but if you were going to rank level of importance to a championship team over the course of the entire season, would you not have said that Tatum was the number 1 guy over Jaylen Brown?
He's their number 1 player. Yeah, clearly. In the late stage of the playoffs, it shifted to Brown. But Tatum is the one that was all NBA first team. I don't think Brown was that.
The point being that the talent level on this team was so great.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So great that you could sit a guy that was the fucking main impetus behind the championship team in the National Basketball Association, eclipsing the accomplishments of all of these other countries that happen to have a sprinkling of NBA stars on them.
Yep.
And okay, so legitimately, like we were saying all along, I mean, you might have a Wembanyama on France or Jokic on Serbia, and maybe a couple of other guys that are in the NBA. But you don't have like 12 guys that are all-stars. Get the fuck out of here.
No.
Unbelievable.
I mean, to watch what happened with them the last 2 games was almost impressive to see these other, like the Serbia team looks like a bunch of fucking schmanks compared to.
They look like a team that shows up at the park and you don't even let them play.
Like it just doesn't fit. France and
Who these schleps?
like you're like okay, but then the rest of the French team, it's like okay. Fournier is like Fournier wouldn't be Fournier wouldn't even sniff the USA roster. Like it just, and they hung around in that game until like the last half of the fourth quarter.
How is it possible? I mean, it can't be team chemistry because it really appeared that all of these guys were more than willing to sacrifice their egos for the benefit of just cruising to a gold medal, which it should have been much more. I guess it was in some senses a cakewalk, but
until the last,
you had the one game against Serbia where they were challenged. That was it. I mean, are they entitled to that after creaming Serbia 3 straight times?
I guess.
No. What am I talking about?
No.
Should have been just a complete blowout. So if you were laying points, you went 2-4 with the U.S. men's team, an assemblage of talent, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long, long time. Where Anthony, the Ant-Man, is coming off the bench, for God's sake. That's insane when you think about it. You got Bam Adebayo coming off the bench. An all-star, a defensive presence. Joel Embiid is your center. Joel Embiid, is Brittany Griner morphing into Joel Embiid? Did you notice that, Lubie, watching the women's game? Brittany Griner, is she starting to take on the appearance? Like, I didn't know. I thought it was Embiid in there. I don't mean to be disparaging. This isn't a gender thing or any of this mockery. Just physical observance.
Yes, she's leaning toward her masculine side. Is the way
I wasn't even implying that. I'm just saying, like from a physical appearance standpoint, if you were watching a women play, you thought, wow, they got Embiid in there.
Okay.
Brittany Griner. I didn't notice. I don't know. Should we make a big deal of this? I mean, what do you make of this? Or is it not even worth mentioning anymore? Are we at that point, Lubie, where this whole business about dissing the U.S. with the kneeling during the anthem? Was she really kneeling during the anthem? I never saw it. So
I never saw it either. You brought it up Friday, and I was like,
I mean, apparently that was the case, right?
After what they did for her, you would think, she would have all the appreciation of the United States of America. The fact that they traded her for a guy that should never see the light of day.
For the merchant of death.
Because she did something that was fucking stupid in a country that she should know better than.
They made Brittany Griner the highest of priorities.
Yeah, they did.
Over guys that have been locked away for years, for supposedly spying, even though the guy, Whalen guy was going to a wedding, for God's sake.
Yes. And
that's it.
Brought a fucking vape into a country that she has to know is not a big fan of weed.
A 9-year sentence for this crap.
I mean,
granted, it was a bullshit thing, but Jesus.
But she did do it. Whereas,
we see the complications, too, in making these arrangements.
The whole thing was a joke, but whatever. It's fine. They brought her home. She deserved to be home. And the whole thing was weird, but she shouldn't have anything but the most appreciation for America. I'm not saying, again, we're very honest about what this country is, and that's fine. But you should still appreciate the kinds of things that Joe Biden and the their entire team did.
The extreme lengths that had to be reached.
It was not categorically
to make that happen. And I mean, you had to be thinking, geez, I mean, what am I, Charlie Finley here? I'm getting hosed in this debate. Joe DeMaestri for Roger Maris? Get the fuck out of here. I'm using that phrase a lot today. I don't know why. Anyway, so, that was, I mean, should we be making more of that? I don't know. It seemed like it would be a real taint on what otherwise was a pretty good feel-good story, no? The Olympic Games this year.
Yeah, the games were great. The U.S. did really well. A lot of other countries got involved, which was really cool. You saw countries winning for the first time. You saw new events that I don't know if we'll see again. The breakdancing was an utter fucking disaster.
You thought that was? I don't know. A lot of people liked it.
all I saw was people making fun of it. Both men and women was not breaking. I grew up watching people break dance. Like it was a big deal when it
Yeah.
started in the 80s.
I could see you doing it of the people that
I
we know.
didn't, but a lot of my friends did. And when I was in high school, it had a resurgence in
You
late
have those weird moves though, where you could be on one arm and be
I
doing a
probably could
spin.
do it. I never got into it, but I had a lot of friends that did it. And the breakdancing circles would start in the middle of my high school when we go out to clubs. It was a big fucking deal. Any one of those people would have won gold by fucking straight tens. What I saw both in the men and the women was a fucking disaster. And everyone I saw online and people I knew watching it was like, what the fuck is this? And that's all they do is make fun of it. So to me, I don't know how they got the people that were in it, but they did not do a straight like world of dance, best dancers in the world competition because it was a disgrace.
How they pick the guys for the team?
I don't know. I hope they never do it again, or if they do, then they do a much better job at finding talent because it was fucking laughable. Like people that when I was growing up that were average would have annihilated it.
Oh yeah, wow. Okay.
It was rough. It was really bad.
See, I wouldn't be a good judge of that. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was rough. It was bad.
Yeah, I mean, to me, all of it is impressive because I can barely bend down to tie my shoes. So, when you get to this point in life, you're thinking, I wouldn't mind being able to make some of those moves. I don't know about the spinning on your head so much, and I could live without. I mean, the question would be if you're looking at the pure raw essence of sport. Yes, it takes some athleticism to do that. There's no doubt. I mean, it's similar to any gymnastics move, or appears to be. But is it a sport? That's the question.
No, it wasn't. It's not a sport at all. I don't know.
Worthy of being one of these. So, I mean, is it only 32 sports overall that they have
I think
in the Olympic Games? So, is that one of the top 32 sports?
it's not a sport.
Like it's almost like putting cornhole in there, is it not?
100%. It's not a sport at all. I think it takes a lot of talent, a lot of athleticism, a lot of skill, a lot of endurance.
Or
Not
poker?
they were
Well,
doing.
that would be it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a sport. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. They just were grabbing a bunch of crap. They're trying to get young people engaged, which is fine. But like breakdancing, breaking, it's not a sport. It's
So
someone
you
who,
already had the bicycle stuff in the park and the
yeah,
stuff where
the
they do all
extreme
the obstacles and they had the skateboarding going.
which is fine. That stuff leans
Yeah.
okay, sure. Like skiing. If you do skiing, we went to Olympics, you can do this shit, fine. But the breaking, it's not a sport at all. And again, the field they had sucked. That's all across TikTok / Twitter I saw the last 3 days was people making fun of it. Like the Australian girl, but it wasn't just the girls because I was like, okay, maybe the dudes are better. Because when I was growing up, you didn't really see a lot of women doing it. So maybe that's what it is. They force women in, and the women are just getting into breaking. Fine. And breakdance, the same thing. Breakdancing is a long term. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So I watched guys. Wasn't better. It was like a lot of like bullshit, and they would do a couple of helicopter spins. But if you watch real deal legit breakdancers, breakers, they do a bunch of shit. It's fucking crazy what they're doing out there. That sucked. And I don't know where they got the people for it, but it was horrendous. And they either need to get rid of the shit or go coast to coast in America, not the world. Most of the world doesn't fucking break. I think in the Asian countries, they've gotten a little bit into it, but go fucking around and get real people because that was just stupid. Like, at least in the other dumbass sports, even the handball, which we're all like, yeah, I could definitely do that. At least these people aren't horrendous. You're just like, this is a stupid sport. Anyone I know growing up until the age of 26 could do this sport.
Yeah.
The breaking, it was just bad. Like you could go around New York City and look at street corners and see 80 people better than what the fuck you were watching in that disaster.
Kind of like the 3-on-3 basketball where you're thinking, somewhere in Harlem.
Exactly.
Not to stereotype black people or anything like that. But,
any place, Chicago, LA.
There's a 3-on-3 team that could kick Jimmy Fredette and whatever Barry kid that was his ass.
Yeah, everyone's heard.
They would run them off the corner. It'd be like 11-0 every game, no?
It was
yeah. So that I guess I didn't look at it from that standpoint. I came to this sort of frame of mind that there was enough good stuff there of a high level of sporting integrity, shall you say? With the track and field and gymnastics, which you don't see that often, but when you do, you're like, how the hell do they do this stuff? Unbelievable. And having remembered, which it was great. They gave you a real cross section, broad view of sport when I was growing up in New York. I mean, in the gym classes there, because they made you do all of this stuff.
I love that you did
It
like
did,
all
yeah, yeah.
track
I
and
mean,
field shit. Your
and I
hurdles.
was horrible at all of it. I mean, really. Pommel horse, forget about it. Balance beam. I mean, when that girl cracked her leg on a balance beam when she fell, the American. I think
Okay.
it was it Childs. I'm not sure which one it was, but
Maybe.
anyway, she like fell off the beam there, and oh my god, like if that had been a guy, forget it. Never
He would have given up. He would've
reproduction organs would have been El Kaputski, man.
given up.
Because that thing's a hard, like landing on a brick. Luby, have you ever fallen or?
Oh, I'm just being honest. Scares the crap out of me. I can't even imagine falling on it or off of it.
Forget
No,
about
I'm
it, man.
good. Oh,
No,
man.
you can break bones very easily on that thing.
No way.
So yeah, I mean, I have great respect for that, and it was wildly entertaining. And the track and field, I can't believe how good these guys are. I mean,
Yeah,
and
it's great.
how deep the fields are, and how many different countries are involved. And then you got these kind of superstar guys that they're not big stars in America necessarily. I know people have heard of Noah Lyles. You started to see him in commercials and things like
Yeah.
that, and then they did a few features on him, and you're thinking, wow, this guy is one cocky SOB, man. Not in a bad way. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having confidence if you happen to be great and are able to back it up. And he seemed like a decent guy, right, overall. But so you're rooting for this guy, and when you watch them perform, you're like, holy shit! And look at this, he's barely better, like
Oh
five
yeah.
100ths of a second better than the next guy in the world, and that's what it takes to win at this level. It's unbelievable,
Yep.
right? I mean, we don't get to see enough of it here anymore. I don't think, anyway. I don't know. Maybe I just can't find it. Track and field.
No, I mean, I'm sure when there's nationals, they have it on like NBC somewhere, but no one I know watches it. Like we don't talk about the people until the actual Olympics. Like we used to talk about it in the lead up, and
Yeah.
it's fallen by the wayside.
You knew some of these guys, from appearing, I think, more frequently on national television because they used to televise a lot of track meets.
Yep.
And I don't know that you see that anymore. At least I don't see much of it. And I'd be inclined to watch because I always liked it. I mean, one of my favorite things that I did was cover some track meets when I was a young scribe out there in California. And it happened to be a big deal out there. And we had a local guy I've mentioned a few times, a real good guy named Steve Scott, who at the time was known as America's premier miler. So if this guy passed gas, we were covering it. It's a departure from what you see, unfortunately, with the scantily staffed newspapers that you have out there today, where you're not inclined to get a lot of coverage about local people that are doing well. I don't know. Did we have any locals that really fared well in the Olympics, Lubie?
No.
The kid that won the breakdancing was from Kissimmee, which you're not exactly thinking of as a hotbed of breakdancing. And I don't know. Apparently, was in some kind of competitive league or some kind of competitions, which must be regulated by somebody around the country. Maybe that's where they got the talent. But anyway, yeah, good games overall. The French women stuck it to. I mean, how is this woman over the line there? How can you do that, Libby? I know it's a spur of the moment, heat of the moment, and you're running a fast break. You've got 3 seconds left in the game. But that last shot, did that not have to be? It was mandated that somebody pull up and take a three, no?
Oh yeah, like she actually makes the fucking shot, but it's her foot inside the goddamn line.
Yeah.
How do you not at least make sure it's a three?
You would have to, right? I don't care how unconscious you are because you're racing to try and make something happen that seems virtually impossible. Not impossible, but improbable. 3 seconds to go in the game, and you're going to race up the court and try and hit a three. Banks the thing in. You're looking, going, my God, they tied the fucking game, and turned out to be a 2-point shot, and well within the.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't even like the
range.
Durant shot versus the Bucks that year.
Yeah,
when
barely
it
on the line.
Buzzer, but his foot was a little over the line. I was like, oh, that sucks. And because he has a big ass foot, his foot's like a 20 or whatever. Her whole foot was inside. It's like, how do you have no idea where the fuck the 3-point line
Where
is?
are you going, kid? Exactly. The fact that it was a close game was a big shock, and the women were down 10 points at one time, which again gets back to our theory: never bet with your heart.
No,
because your heart would have been all over the USA. Do you want to root against the USA? Do you want to be every time that France gets a bucket, you're going, yeah?
That's the thing. Look, if it's a huge spread, you could
Big
root for your
spread, yeah.
team, and like if it's like 20 something, and the U.S. cover U.S.
I think it was like 16 points or something like that.
Yeah, wins, but wins by like 14. Okay, you might as well make money and your team won. But like, if your team has a chance to lose, now you're like rooting against. Like, yeah, it's. I don't want to root against.
You don't want to root against your own team. You don't want to be happy that the other team is up 10 points and is about to end a 60-game winning streak
And
and like 28 straight years of winning the gold medal in Olympic basketball because you're only getting 15 points.
no,
But you'd be thrilled to be up 10 at that point. There's no way. I mean, almost impossible the way the pace of the game was going. And what a brick fest that first half was. My God. I'm sorry. Apologies again to women's basketball. But could the team not have used a little dose of Caitlin Clark? An
honestly,
outstanding passer. And maybe, I don't know, is she a better ball handler than some of the
she's
young
up
ladies that were out there?
I didn't watch any of the women. I literally turned it on right when it was just finishing and they
Some
won by
3-point
one.
shots. Yeah.
I don't know the other women's capabilities, but I know that Caitlin Clark, as much as we give her shit, is really good at ball handling,
Great
shot
passer.
making,
Great
and
passer.
passing. And you couldn't tell me you couldn't use that. I mean, I don't know.
From what I saw, I mean, they could have used something. I don't know. I mean, that was really the only game that I focused in on with any, real interest for a while. And then, even then, it was like, oh, holy shit, they managed to pull it off. I'm a big Kelsey Plum fan. We didn't realize, her significance in college basketball until Caitlin Clark came along and started smashing records. And I didn't realize that, I'd seen her in a WNBA, and I thought, wow, this girl's got some game. And yeah, she's a big 3-point shooter. She made a couple of clutch shots in this thing. It was very instrumental in the USA victory. But if you were laying points, if you were betting with your heart, you were getting punched in the stomach. You may as well have just jumped off that bridge and straight into the Seine River. How did they run that marathon swim in the Seine River? That was really a little bit dangerous, was it not?
This is gross. It's not the kind of. It's not like a stream, where the water comes over the rocks from a waterfall and it's the cleanest water. A river's a river. Like a river is like a moving lake. Like,
I don't think Cousteau goes down
swim
in
in
that
them.
thing. No,
I know people in the Midwest that guess swim in the lakes, but I wouldn't swim in a fucking lake. Like,
Mel Fisher's divers wouldn't have gone into that
yeah,
water.
it's gross. It's not. There's like shit in there. They don't clean it, and no.
Oh my God! Yeah,
They supposedly tried to clean it, and
it looked pretty gross, didn't it?
Yeah, it was gross as fuck.
The whole fun of that. I mean, like, would you jump into the Hudson?
No, the Hudson.
You ever walk by there and you're like, wow, what's
There's an odor. Like you can smell it.
Dead fish
I mean, I'm
floating
telling
up
you,
on the shore there, like encased in mercury. That was, I mean, that was a little strange. There were some complaints about that, but they were quickly silenced, if you notice that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the closing ceremony is a little bizarre. What was the thing with the bee? What was the symbolism with this guy in the bee suit?
I didn't watch any opening.
I thought it was at Stingers. I really did. I was looking for Dave B to come out with a pizza. Who had the pepperoni?
I don't want to say it's made for women because I'm sure men like it, but it's made for people who like art and all that shit.
That's cool. I get that.
It's fine. I like plays and shows and stuff, but like they go really into it with like the graphics and the singing and I don't care about any of that.
It's a little too deep for me, I would have to say.
I don't care about any of it.
I'd rather read a book by Jean-Paul Sartre and then just go somewhere and blow my brains out.
Exactly.
The French, man. No, you got to give it to him, though. I mean, I really thought that. I mean, if the next Olympic Games in Los Angeles are as good and well run, from what we could see, I mean, we're seeing the good side of it.
No, but you in this day and age, you hear plenty of stuff if things go wrong between Twitter and TikTok, and the news cycle's always looking for something negative to bitch about. If something really bad had gone on,
Brian says he was hoping for more drag queens. He and Ron DeSantis. I would imagine DeSantis didn't catch much of the games. Has he made any comments about the kid from Kissimmee winning the breakdancing? I don't think so.
I have no idea.
Our governor? No. Should that guy not get a key to Kissimmee?
There you go.
Who would want one?
That's the problem.
Because it's a gateway to Disney World. It's the poor man's Disney World. It's turned into like a Disney World of its own. I think they put an amusement park right in there. It's crazy, Lubie. All right, we're coming back with more. The Dolphins played their first preseason game. Do we have the two worst backup quarterbacks in football? That was speculated upon.
I mean, the Panthers.
Was that the professor that came up with that?
I didn't see the Panthers quarterback situation isn't better, but the Dolphins have not tried. And supposedly both Thompson and White have looked good in practice. I didn't watch much of
White
them.
looked sad. I mean, he really did.
I watched a little bit at the beginning just to see, and I like the run game, and that's really what I was focusing on. Look, they haven't given to any. Hopefully, the guy doesn't miss a lot of time because their backup quarterback situation is not strong. I mean, it's not.
Oh my God! If Tua gets hurt, it's over. What are you talking about?
None of these guys are going to start.
Didn't Skylar Thompson like nearly beat the Bills or something in a playoff game?
Yeah, remember the playoff game 2 years ago at Buffalo with the snow and the cold.
Yeah.
It was a dogfight to the end. The Dolphins almost won, and it was a high-scoring game. It wasn't like 34-31 or something like that. Like it was, and it was close to the end, and that was with Thompson playing bad. It's not like Thompson played well in that game.
No, he was.
The whole game, like, fuck if they had Tua. Like, yeah, they haven't done anything to try and shore up the quarterback situation. The Texans have 2 guys that have started NFL games as their backups. The Dolphins don't have one. I mean, like Thompson and Mike White have both started games. I don't think any team wants them started games.
You see Tua grabbing an ankle somewhere, in the second series, opening day.
Like even
all that money, all of your hopes, all of your dreams.
The Patriots have like 3 dudes. Like, get Brissett. I don't care what Brissett is. He's better than the 2 fucking guys that the Dolphins have right now. Jesus.
Jacoby Brissett looked like he was really in a great place. He was one of those guys, been in the league 11 years. You wondered if he was going to be in the league 1 year. Distinguished himself at a reasonable level a couple of times, but nothing to get wild about. And, it looks like he's just going to collect a paycheck somewhere for a few $1 million to stand on the sidelines there and mentor young guys into how to be a mediocre quarterback.
I'd rather that than these 2.
But he got a lot out of his ability. I mean, he's one of those guys that he didn't look like he was going to be any great talent, but kind of surprised you, I think, with the level of achievement that he had, however modest by NFL superstar status it might be. All right, we're going to come back with more. The Dolphins did play a game. I don't know if I was able to deduce anything of any great significance. That one running back is fast. Wilson, that's not Jeff Wilson, right? It's another Wilson. The guy that
Jeff Wilson is for the Dolphins. It's Jeff Wilson. He actually got run because they have a ton of running backs right now. So Jeff Wilson actually is trying to.
Jeff Wilson, the guy that was in the game. He kind of provided a little spark there in the second half.
Wilson, the Brooks kid is good, and then Wright, the guy that they drafted, all got run. Mostert.
Maybe it was right. I was looking at.
Remember, Mostert and A-Chain really have risen to the 1-2 back spot. So,
right.
Wilson and the Brooks kid from last year showed a lot of signs of life. He's a big, strong kid, and he ran well Friday actually. So the Brooks kid, Wright, they drafted. Was it 3rd round? I don't know. They used the pick I wanted on someone else.
Might have been Wright that I was looking at.
It was Wright. Well, and Wilson played. Wilson was I think he started. Wilson was there in the beginning of the game, and it was like, fuck, he's running. But he's right now the 3rd or 4th string. Like, they actually have a decent amount of depth at the running back spot to the point. Like, Wright, they just drafted the kid. He's going to make the roster. So I feel like between Wilson and Brooks, they're trying to fight to get on the active roster, not the practice squad. I'm just curious what they're going to do with this next game. Like, is this the game that we're going to see people? Because it's really hard to
some
watch.
starters playing very limited numbers of downs in other games. Yeah, Caleb Williams played. I mean, he looked okay for a while. I think he was 4 for 4 at one point. Then he missed his next 3. Well, one of them was just a bizarre dump pass though that went for like 100 yards. So I mean, that was a case of maybe the stats looking a little bit overinflated, right? Looked like he was about to get absolutely creamed, but he made a pretty good account of himself. So I mean, how do you judge anything that's going on there?
I don't.
You just want to see, I guess, if a guy has some kind of an acumen, a natural instinct for it, and maybe you can, make that a deduction if you watch a guy. But very, very difficult to say. So some of these guys that you thought were going to, I mean, they're playing anyway, so that was good. And McCarthy played. Bo Nix saw some time there.
It's weird. Penix came in behind
Drake May. I mean, did he get in the game? Yeah, he did.
May played, and he played a lot, and he was in. Penix played, and he actually looked pretty good.
Penix, it was a little up and down. Yeah. That's a weird situation there.
I don't know
where they drafted Penix. Kind of crazy, right? With Kirk Cousins, right?
Well, he's older, too. It's not like he's a guy that needs to be Like that's his problem is that he's older and had a lot of injuries. So how long can you wait to play him? Like, and you drive
Interesting, though. I mean, and it's a whole new world. And I do think, well, we'll get into this because we've been trying to hit this break here for the last half hour. So we're just wandering all over the place here. We'll be back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:39.
Here, let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Francois Lebec. Good morning, Francois.
Listen to me one moment, please. You fat ass. Tired of the way you speak about the Canadians? We are good people. We're here vacationing on the beach. We bring our dollars here, and you're always putting down the Canadians. And me, personally, is sick and tired of your crap. And you're not losing weight. I saw you the game. You're fat like a pig. The other thing that I would like to say is that you're going to throw out some baseball. I will be there personally to boo you out of the stadium. We come here as good people, friendly people, nice people. We don't need you to speak like you speak, Jeffrey, the fat ass the forest.
The Defo Show, featuring Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
I can't say how appropriate that was after these Olympics in Paris. We were not very popular with the French. And how did you find it over there, Louis, when you were visiting Paris? Did you find that the French people, the actual
Yeah, they're cool.
Parisians, thought you were an asshole for being an American swine?
They were fine. I mean, we aren't rude. We know how to travel, so I feel like maybe that puts things in our favor a little bit. But because a lot of times Americans will travel to places and just assume they're in Fort Worth, Texas,
yeah,
and they're not in the middle of Moscow. Like, you're not in America. It's okay to understand that and try and figure out some of the customs. But we've traveled a lot, so yeah. And Shirley knows French, so that when you try to be accessible to them, they're accessible to you. Look, it reminds me of New Yorkers. Like, they're not rude per se. They're like, if you ask someone for directions,
oh, they're happy to give them to
they
you.
They may help you, but they're not going out of their way for you. Like, there's certain countries, like, you go to them and they'll go, no, and they'll walk you to the place. No, they're not going to do that. But like, if you ask them, they're cordial, and then they go about their day, just like New Yorkers. Like, New Yorkers get a really bad rap. Miami people are a lot worse than New Yorkers. New Yorkers, if you ask for help, they will help you, and then they're going to keep walking because they have like 8 places they have to get to. It's fucking New York. Like, Paris was very similar to me. Like, the people were cool. We got along with them. I had heard all this stuff, but my wife had been before. She did a semester abroad there. So yeah, no, the people are a lot cooler than they give you credit, and the food's great, and the vibe. Just the sights and sounds are fantastic. I mean,
they look great. I have to say that was a very entertaining aspect of the whole Olympic game presentation. And as you say, Libby, these are times where if something really overwhelmingly negative was happening,
we
no doubt would have heard about it. It couldn't have been just brushed over, glossed over by NBC. As Mike Tirico had a big smile on his face while people were rioting in the streets.
I remember the Bob Costas
setting fire to the Eiffel Tower.
The Bob Costas with the eye, and I get it, you could see it, but all we heard about was the fucking eye.
Yeah,
so, like, the stuff that was like a decade ago. Like, the stuff gets out if there's some shit behind.
Oh yeah, I mean that was wild when Costas, bravely went on TV with pink eye. and not Lafitte. All right. So nothing to really deduce of any overwhelming significance from the Dolphin game. I was looking at Mike McDaniel, and I was thinking, okay, this is it, right? I mean, he's either going to make it or break it this season. Now, well, would you take the Dolphins? And this was something that I was, thinking about
No, they won.
actually recommending. Although it seems, I mean, how much trepidation do you have recommending the Dolphins to win, Lubie, to win the AFC East, which was well within their grasp last year?
Yeah, they led
Until they
until
spit
the
the
last
bid
week.
against Tennessee.
They led until the last week. Even the last week, they still could win it.
Right.
And yes, I think
Plus
they should.
210.
I think they should be the favorites. The Bills lost as much as the Dolphins lost. The Bills lost just as much, and the Dolphins actually did, outside of a specific replacement for Wilkins, and said they have like 3 or 4 guys that they're going to try and take his production. They replaced everyone they lost with better players. I mean, like at safety, they're stronger now with Poyer. At linebacker, whatever they lost, and look, Van Ginkel was a fun like toy, whether he was a linebacker.
He was a good player, I thought.
But whatever they brought in is just as good as Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel was a random that they helped get to another level. I don't see why whoever they brought in couldn't do that. Like Fuller, actually, Xavier Howard last year wasn't Xavier Howard from 3 years ago, who was the highest paid corner in the league. Like Xavier Howard is always hurt now. That's just what he was. He was hurt a lot. And when he was out there, you could see him laboring.
Yeah.
Like Fuller is an upgrade over him. So yes, what the Dolphins lost, I think they gained in a way that it's not the case for the Bills. Like I like Keon Coleman. I think Keon Coleman was a steal where they got him in the draft. I think he will be a number 1 in the NFL. I don't know if he's a number 1 now. Like you lost a guy who's arguably a top 5 receiver when he's motivated. Even last year when he was bitter, he was still a top 10 receiver in Stephon Diggs. I think they lost Gabe, the other guy. I think they lost like 2 or 3 receivers. They lost safety, defensive.
The perception seemed to be that they were compromised from where they were last year.
Yeah,
by
they
the
lost
loss
a
of
lot.
personnel.
Like look, Josh Allen went back to leaning into turning the ball over. Like the guy that
believe it or not, the Jets are the second choice.
I would say Dolphins and then in Jets, Bills, and I think all 3 of those teams are on a very similar trajectory. It's just, to me, with the Dolphins and the Jets, it's all about injuries. The Dolphins' offensive and defensive line are hurt constantly. Right now, you still have Phillips and Chubb on the pup. Right now, they're still on the goddamn pup with the season starting in 3 weeks. The Jets, their quarterback is going to be 40, coming off of the worst injury you can have as a player. So it's just, and the offensive line, whatever.
There's always going to be an infatuation though with the Jets. It's amazing. I was stunned to see that the Dolphins were the 3rd choice. Albeit at a relatively short price, but you're getting 2-1 on the Fins.
Yeah, then you should take
win the AFC East.
I think they win the division. I think people, because of how it finished for the Dolphins the last 2 years, they're taking it out of context. They're not actually looking at just how injured the Dolphins were. And to me, to presume they're going to be that injured again at the end of the year is, I think, a little ridiculous. It's year 3 for the system. It's year 3 for Mike McDaniel. It's a defensive coordinator that fits the talent a lot better than Old Man River did. And it's just, to me, people are like, well, they fucked around last year, so now they're going to be bad. I think that's weird. Like, I think whatever they lost, they replaced it in a pretty impressive fashion. And I expect them to win the division. Like, they should be the favorites to win the division. If they don't win the division, to me, that is a failure. Like, it's winning the division, winning one, because if you win the division, you should win 2 playoff games, right? Or at least make it to the conference championship. Because if you win the division in the AFC, it's going to take 12, 13 wins. So to me, if you win 12, 13 games, you should get a bye. So, there's only 1 bye now. Or you should get a cake game. You should get a cake game and then win a next. Like, to me, it's win the division or bust, win a playoff game or 2 or bust. Like, that's what this is.
How could they not? I mean, if they don't do it this year, all the advantages going their way. The Patriots blow, going to be a terrible team.
Yep.
The Jets, as you said, suspect because we don't know. People are in love with Aaron Rodgers, which is great, but to the point where they're being duped. I mean, is this not Bernie Madoff recommending a stock to you, Lubie? This one can't lose. And the Buffalo Bills, I don't know. They're always suspect, the Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins had the division in the palm of their hands last year. Now, they did choke, which is, the label, I guess, that Tua has to overcome if he's going to be good. But we won't find out much about this in the preseason. That would be my prediction. But we'll have no idea. And for what reason? I mean, you know what the value of Tyreek Hill is. We did see that, and are the Dolphins overwhelmingly dependent on Tyreek Hill because he wasn't the same player towards the end of the season. Clearly, nursing some kind of, maybe even a variety of injuries.
Injuries, yeah.
And the guy had played his eyeballs out the entire year, which he seems to do all the time.
Yeah, he plays hard. And look, in the preseason, he looks like he wants to get on the goddamn fucking field. Like the guy, practice. They said that's a problem in practice.
I believe he played by Kevin Hart in the movie Tyreek Hill.
Maybe.
He's
actually his good size.
Yeah,
short for like a short dude. He's pretty jacked.
Couldn't with some makeup artistry.
No, they don't look exactly.
Kevin Hart looked like Tyreek Hill.
I mean, it actually seems like and Tyreek Hill likes to talk a lot of shit, which is something Kevin Hart.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that actually is a pretty good comp. Look at you.
I'm casting it. I'm also I'm looking for contestants. I came up with a new show idea, Lubie.
Okay.
And it's going to be a show entitled Loan Shark Tank, where we have like 5 loan sharks on one side, and the people come in, these bust out degenerate gamblers come in, and they try to negotiate better terms on some kind of a loan, and also secure the loan, even though their reputations may not match up with what would be considered spot on credit. Can you imagine this thing? It would be awesome, wouldn't it? I mean, you got some guy coming in there going, hey, listen, I'm looking for $600 at 2 points a week. And, I'm telling you, I'm going to pay you back. I know my reputation is not necessarily exemplary. And, then the loan sharks start picking them apart. It's like, well, what are you talking about, Johnny?
They all know
2 points a week. That's laughable. It's 7 points a week just to talk to me. And then the guy starts stammering back. Well,
I love the back and forth.
What do you think?
I think it'd be classic.
And you get the music going. The guy comes out. He's clearly in need of the money. And they get that dun, 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 dun. And you got some guy that looks like Vito. He's Mr. Wonderful's chair, in Mr. Wonderful's chair, and he's just looking at the guy like, what a watermelon is.
I was gonna say you have to have at least one of the people or behind them their body. Like you need to have their enforcers at least either behind.
Oh yeah.
Off to the side.
Some guy just waiting to punch a bag. Yeah. With that face, that the enforcer always has, like, let me at him. How about a little taste of pain? I don't really think I need that reminder.
The beginning of every episode, it's a guy that fucking didn't pay last week.
He's got this shit beat out of him, yeah. He's in some trash can peeling himself out. Man, here's last week's. Deadbeat. Yeah. What do you think?
It's actually
Did I get some money to produce this thing? Is somebody going to steal the idea? I was afraid to unveil it here on the show because I thought it was brilliant.
I think it's funny.
Loan Shark Tank.
I think
it's perfect for, I'm going to try and figure out a way to do it, Lubie. I don't know that we can with the production systems that we're operating under, but because this would take a little bit more.
No, you'd want a studio. This you'd want a studio, and you'd want to do it in studio and do a whole thing.
Yeah, you have to have some effects in there and everything, and the studio has to look exactly like it does on a Shark Tank. You have to replicate that. And you got your guy who's Mark Cuban, and imagine the guy goes, "Hey, listen, you're a piece of shit. Everybody hates you. You stiffed the last 6 bookies that you owed money to, and for those reasons, I'm out."
Yes, they give exact reasons. We know what you did to your mother. We've heard the
you
story.
Mortgage your mother's condo behind her back to pick up $100,000 that you blew at the Hard Rock. Yeah, exactly.
We were at the track that day, Johnny. We were there. That would be classic.
Oh my! All right, I don't know how we got into that, but no, it was just an idea I had.
I like
Long
that.
Shark Tank, because I've been watching a lot of Shark Tank lately. It's on like an endless loop on some channel.
CNBC, I think, airs a lot.
Yeah.
Whenever I go to
CNBC,
bars, I don't ever turn it on, but if I'm at a bar and it's on, and they have the closed captions on, I always find myself watching because the stuff that they say is always funny. And they always when they come up with these deals and they fight against each other. It's I don't even know.
And Mr. Wonderful's deal is always a screw job. I
Always
mean, like a
bullshit.
complete screw job.
It's bullshit.
All right, I want 25 cents off every doll you sell until I get my money back 3 times over.
He sounds like a loan
That's what
shark.
inspired it, Loan Shark Tank.
The stuff he says is very loan shark-esque.
Yeah, yeah.
Even
It's
business
like,
people will look at him like, "What the fuck are you talking?"
yeah. Cuban looks at him and goes, okay, there's a deal. You know,
The women are always like, "That's not business." Like, what business do you do?
what a burial. Yeah.
He's like, "Are you a loan shark?" Like half the time, I'm always wondering if Mr. Wonderful is literally an actual.
I believe that's how he made his fortune.
It feels
To
like
begin
it.
with.
Running numbers.
All right, where do we turn our attention to in the world of sport now, Louis? We've got
Football.
baseball races, but we're not in them.
No,
Although, spoiler, is the team better now with a bunch of schminks? They have guys on the field
yeah,
that are wearing like, uniform numbers you see in a clown baseball game.
they tape it on.
Like 99 and a half, 000. You're thinking, what is that? Who are these guys?
What a disaster!
Literally, I mean, to the announcer's credit there, Severino, he's still trying to make it sound
They
like this
try.
is worthwhile,
What I mean, we love Goldie. Goldie did that for so long with the Panthers. That's why I'm so happy for him that he gets to be with the Panthers now.
Yeah.
For years, it's like
For years, it was a shill job. I mean, even he would be the first to admit it. How do you keep making excuses for these guys? It's incredible. So, that was interesting aspect of the game. I'm watching it, and our good friend Tommy Hutton's on the broadcast, of course, and Tommy's always great.
yeah, we love
But
it.
I really, you have no idea who these guys are, but maybe they're better than what they had out there before. Is that possible?
I mean, I
it's
can
like
be
the
worse.
Padres stuff.
But I can be worse.
Lost 2 disastrous extra inning games, and then won yesterday. This Jake Berger has come alive at the end of the season. I like him. He's a good player. Jake
Yeah,
Berger.
I liked him. Look, he did a good job last year. I didn't even know he was still on the team. I'm not going to lie to you. I totally forgot they were still playing. Like I know baseball's still going on because I hear about the Yankees and this and that team, but I forgot the Marlins were. I thought maybe they
Still in existence. It's pretty incredible. And what's even more incredible is as soon as anybody leaves the Marlins, that they instantly blossom. Josh Bell had a couple of home runs. Where is he? Arizona? Josh Bell? Where
Chisholm's
the hell
still
did he
killing it. I haven't paid attention. It's Chisholm.
Chisholm is killing it. Yeah, he has been. As a Yankee, he hit like already 6 or 7 home runs
Oh Jesus Christ!
after having like 13 for the entire season.
That's annoying.
Yeah, no, he's been a monster playing third base and making plays. And seems to be they're already writing about him like he's a perfect fit in pinstripes.
Oh, he loves the lights and the action and the energy. Like it makes sense that he would rise to the occasion where here he was like,
Yeah, you never know. I mean, guys do flatten out in New York also.
oh, for sure. But again, he was a guy that does the hair color and wears the earrings.
Yeah,
The Henderson light. Like he wants people to either root or jeer him. He doesn't
he's
want
Acuna Jr. without the
quiet
same
is what he
level of
doesn't
ability.
want. He doesn't give a shit if you boo him. He just doesn't want nothing. Crickets are
Yeah.
the thing he doesn't want. He wants something. Like it feels like he needs the energy.
It has to be a thrill to be a part of a late season Marlin crowd.
Oh
No,
Jesus.
I saw some Cincinnati fans. I mean, there's some people from the Midwest. They probably schlepped over from Naples
Probably.
so they could watch the Reds play. And that was good. And that Ellie Dela Cruz is worth the price of
Jesus
admission. I
Christ.
mean, you're at the point now where you're only thinking,
Yeah.
would I pay money to see one of the members of the opposition or a couple of guys on the other club? Because there would be no, I mean, unless you're real, I'm a diehard fan now is attaching himself. Our friend Jimmy Ross probably attaching himself to several Marlin players that he thinks can blossom and have a chance to be big-time pros. All right, we got to get out of here. A lot of fun being with you. Thanks so much for joining us here on the show. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll see you tomorrow. And later on today, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox right here on South Florida Live and the
Yes,
Let's
sir.
Eat South Florida page. And we'll see you then 1 o'clock and then again tomorrow with this program.
Yes,
As,
sir.
we leave you now that.
The time.
8:57.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my